you're thinking about buying a house in Central Park, Denver, but you can't decide if you should buy a resale or build a new house, we're going to go over the pros and cons of both. Hey guys, Kailee Ackerman here with the Central Park Scoop and Focus Real Estate. So today we're talking about whether to build new or buy a resale in the Central Park neighborhood of Denver, Colorado. And my family and I actually had this debate amongst ourselves. We couldn't decide if we wanted to do a resale or a new build. We ended up doing a new build, but we're going to go over the pros and cons of both options because depending on your situation, one might be a better fit than the other. So first, let's talk about new builds. There's a lot of pros to building new. The first one being that you don't have bidding wars in general. Now, that's sort of a caveat because there is some competition in terms of getting the lot that maybe you want or the floor plan that you want, but you're not necessarily going up against all the buyers in the market trying to get into the house that you've decided you love on the resale. It also sometimes helps to figure out the timing of your move. Most people have another house to sell and they want to avoid the double move. So with a new build home, you know when the home is going to close and we can plan accordingly. And we've done this a lot with our clients because 40% of the people building here in Central Park are also selling a house in Central Park. So we've gotten pretty good at trying to time that. Obviously with a new build, you get to pick your finishes, which is fantastic if you like the design process. And they have kind of the latest and greatest with floor plans. About 5 years ago in the neighborhood, they really started doing more of that open concept, taller ceilings, really nice big windows to let in all the natural light. And so those are some of the pros to building new. There's always cons as well. It's hard to tell your all-in price point up front. You're probably used to builders saying starting in the mid 400s or starting at 500, but then you have to factor in lot premium, structural upgrades, all of the finishes that you pick, and depending on which builder you go with, there's different levels of that. Some of the builders have a slightly more custom approach or a semi-custom, and others are a bit more all-in, so we can kind of gauge a little bit better. But we've gotten pretty good at helping clients to guide them in terms of sticking to the price point that they've decided is their top price point. Another con with the new build is that it can take longer. So if you contract on a house, depending on when they actually break ground to start the building process, it's an average of probably 7 to 9 months and sometimes more like 18 to 24 months if you do one of those semi-customs. I mentioned that it's still somewhat competitive, so some of the builders predetermine which lots get which floor plans. So if you've already decided that you want that particular floor plan, it's a bit of a rush to try to get in there and get that lot before anyone else does. Interest rates can change between when you contract on the house and when you close. So that's something to keep in mind. And then obviously market values change as well. Lately, what we're seeing is you contract on the price point, and by the time you get to the closing table, it actually feels like a great deal because it's a price from almost a year ago. But if the market were to go down, it might not feel quite that same way. So those are some of the pros and cons of building new. So let's talk resale. There are pros and cons to the resale market as well. Starting with the pros, you get a quicker move-in. Like we just talked about with the new builds, sometimes it can take 12, 18, 24 months to move in. And with a resale home, we're talking a few months once you find the house that you want to move into. Another pro about the resale market is that with these incredibly low interest rates, you can lock that rate in now as opposed to waiting and seeing what the market does a year from now when you're closing on a new build. A third benefit or pro for the resale market is that you have a little more flexibility with location within the neighborhood. If you're not familiar with Central Park, we have 12 sort of mini or micro neighborhoods throughout, and the only one that you can currently build new in is way up in North End. So if you would rather be down on the south side of I-70, closer to Central Park, or one of the pools that you love, the resale market is what's going to allow you to do that. Obviously, you're going to be subject to what comes on the market, but you do have those options. So location is another pro with the resales. There's cons as well. I think the blaring one that we're all working with right now is the bidding war. Once you find a house that you love, chances are there are going to be a half a dozen other families that have also fallen in love with that property. So you could end up in a bidding war. It might take the price up. It might make you have to kind of give some concessions on stuff that you otherwise would rather not, but that's what needs to be done to make it happen. Another con in the resale market is that to make a strong offer on a new house, it's better to not have another house to sell. So if you can sell your current house, the offer that you put in on a resale is a stronger offer. That obviously is less convenient because it leads to a double move. You sell your house, maybe you get a lease back for a while, but eventually you have to move out and wait until you can close on the new house to move in. So that's kind of a con in terms of the timing. Another one that people kind of forget about is that in the resale market here in Central Park, some houses are close to 20 years old now, and you might want to do some renovations. Or maybe it needs a new roof, maybe the appliances are getting old, water heater, all sorts of stuff that, those things don't last forever, and you're going to want to budget for that. So if the house is listed at $600,000, but you want to make some updates or there's some necessary changes that need to be made, you'll want to factor in the cost of those as well. So those are the pros and cons of the resale market. Whew, that's a lot of information. Resale versus new build, the pros and cons of both. We understand that you probably have more questions than what we just answered in this short YouTube video. So if you want to talk through your specific situation, feel free to reach out to us at the contact information below.